Gasworks Park is one of Seattle's most iconic landmarks, known for its sweeping views and towering remnants of the city's industrial past. But a recent proposal from Seattle Parks and Recreation to remove ladders, catwalks, and other climbable features from the historic towers has sparked debate, balancing public safety with historic preservation. And after hours of intense debate, the Seattle Landmarks Preservation Board voted to reject the plan. To help us understand the deeper history behind these towers and why they matter so much is historian Felix Bunnell. Great to see you again.
Good morning, you too.
So, first of all, we need to say that the proposal came about because of safety, and in this case, the loss of life, right?
Yeah, those towers are a very attractive nuisance. And so people trespass, they climb over a fence, they try to climb the towers, and in the last 15 years or so, many people have been injured. 3 people have tragically died, including a 15-year-old boy earlier in the summer of 2025. And so, for people who choose to ignore the signs and to climb over the fence that's clearly where you're not supposed to be, it can be very dangerous. Yeah, it's an old industrial artifact that's there for a reason.
Yes, and so I want to talk about the history of Gasworks. What can you tell me?
Well, that spot, that beautiful spot at North Lake Union, the Olmsted architects identified that as a place for a public park as early as 1903. For some reason, a gasworks was built there instead in 1907. And it was there till the 1950s. So they took like coal and cracked it, a process called cracking, to create a gas for lighting and heating homes. That all wrapped up by the late 50s as natural gas came into use. And it sat there vacant. City of Seattle bought the property in the early 60s and decided to build a park there. Rather than tear down everything and put in tennis courts and picnic tables, a visionary landscape architect here in Seattle, a guy named Rich Hagg, had the idea of let's actually keep Let's keep the artifacts. Let's build a park around the stuff. You can't overstate how radical that was. People thought Rich Hagg was bananas. Like, wait, it's all this rusty old stuff. Why would we want to keep it? And he said, no, let's honor the history, honor the geography, and create a unique park. And sure enough, 50 years ago when it debuts in the early 70s, it's an instant hit. It gets awards. People around the world have been inspired by that to build similar parks. And it's all right here in Seattle because of Rich Hagg. So and people love it. There's no doubt Gasworks is a quintessential Seattle park. It's sort of I don't know if it's the jewel in the crown, but it's a very important park in the whole park system.
It definitely is, and it's so iconic, like you say, when you're out on the water and you see that, it's such a great landmark to know where you are. The cracking towers and what's there today, what is keeping those elements so important?
Well, there's big tanks, big giant objects you can see from far away, but if you get pretty close, you can see all the walkways and these handrails and ladders. And those are the things that are the industrial elements that Rich Hagg wanted to keep. You could strip that stuff away, and that's what Seattle Parks wants to do. They figure that if you take away these little elements, they call them appurtenances, ladders and rails and catwalks, it makes it a less dangerous place. But it also kind of demolishes the history. And Seattle Parks had said that, Rich Hagg's intent was that this all stuff would sort of disintegrate and collapse into the earth. It would be allowed to be, that would happen over time, so we'd have to pull pieces off it. None of Rich Hagg's colleagues say that's the case. Rich passed away about 7 years ago. And so there's this debate about the intent of what Rich Hagg thought should really happen. It's pretty clear that preservation is what Rich Hagg had in mind. And they made up some diagrams that showed what it would look like if you took away all those ladders and things, and it totally changes the character. So there's got to be some kind of a balance, right? And so the Landmarks Preservation Board heard what Parks asked for and said, we want a long-range plan. It's almost as if you're asking to remove these things now, and then maybe a couple of years from now you want to come and remove more things. And the debate's been really quiet. It's been public meetings since September, but it seems like it should be a bigger conversation about how you balance history and safety, because nobody wants anyone to be hurt or to die, certainly. And if people follow the rules and they stay outside the fence and they not climb on it, that can happen. Because if you start to take the pieces away, this brilliant thing that Rich Hagg did. Rich Hagg should be better known in Seattle. He's known by people who know, right? If you know a landscape architect, and I got to work with him a few times 15 years ago.
You did, interesting.
Charismatic guy, just a great guy. But people should know that this park is worth celebrating. And if you start taking pieces away, it's almost like, this is his masterwork. It's like it's his Sistine Chapel. It's his, it's his Mona Lisa. And it's our responsibility to care for it and find ways to balance. Again, no one wants it to be unsafe.
Right. How do you balance then history and preservation and safety and all of it together when you're thinking about everything you need to now in 2025.
Well, I know Parks is going to add some lighting and some video surveillance. Part of it's education. I would love to see Rich Hagg's legacy be better known through this debate. It's gone on so quietly. I'd love to see a bigger public conversation where people can weigh in if they feel strongly in one way or the other. If they think, I've heard some people say, rip it all down, it's ugly. They don't understand the context. If you understand the story of how it came to be, how influential it is, and how much people love it. And if you've been there in person, and then looking at the video, you see the city skyline in the distance, but then you turn to the left and there's all these like gritty industrial things that speak to this history.
Gritty is a good word for it.
And Wallingford and Fremont these days, not a very gritty place. So this gritty history and these giant totemic artifacts, we don't know how good we have it. And if we don't take better care of it and plan for it and be smart about how we take care of it, then we end up having these sort of weird kind of emergency debates about safety versus history. And that's not how a great city maintains its greatness. We think about big things like what Rich Hagg did 50 years ago.
Right.
Brilliant innovator. Honor that and move forward in a smart, cool way.
So what do you think is next now that the Landmark Board did say no to removing the ladders?
I reached out to Seattle Parks and they said they honestly don't know. They said they might have some kind of a plan in the next few weeks. I think if they're smart, and I love Seattle Parks, they do a great job with maintenance and with all the parks that they take care of. I would love to see them work with the Friends of Gasworks Park, the little nonprofit group, work with the University of Washington, come up with a smart plan, honor Rich Hagg's legacy, preserve as much of the park as possible, and keep it as safe as possible. It shouldn't be that difficult, I guess. And let's come up with a plan for the next 50 years. The park's lived 50 years now, it's been around. Let's come up, how do we get through the next 50 years of this park? How do we maintain it for our kids and grandkids? Because it's such a special part of Seattle.
Thank you, Felix. We appreciate your insight on this. And thank you to you all for spending time with us today. You can check our website for more of our content, and you can always send us an email to share your thoughts. Don't forget to enjoy your new day, and we'll see you next time.